Join me as I create the most stunning poinsettia flower fabric layering design. Can I pull it off? Okay, let me just show you briefly. This is the red part. We're finished with the base of the red. That moves over. Now we're at the green. So step E, carefully place your large cut green felt background piece. So reading from the instructions. So we're on to step E. So you carefully cut out, large cut out green felt fabric piece down on its correct side up as per pattern. So that's the correct side up. The green paper pattern can now be cut up further. So now we can cut along here. Now we have to be careful. I'm getting so much better at this. So I'm taking the pins, bringing over the side. Yeah. So I'm taking this. This is the top. So I'm putting a little pin at the top so I don't get confused. That's been extremely helpful. And so now what it's saying is carefully cut out, now cut out further, each of the striped sections. So we know that's the top, so I'm going to cut out number 2 leaf. Make sure you're not cutting at the dotted line, but you're cutting on the light yellow solid line. I'm going to just place that here just so I know where it begins, where leaf 1 is. Then I go to leaf 2. So as you can see, I've cut out the paper pieces. And I decided that I am going to just make sure that they're all in the right spot. So the next step is, we've done E. Now trace the green fabric leaves in step F. So I'm taking out the greens. I'm picking out what we have here. We have this green. If you're finding this video helpful, please do subscribe and thumbs up. Leaf 3 is this. And then the green, so this leaf. So what I'm going to do now is cut these out, making sure there's extra fabric because that's going to be used for doing the layering and the embellishing, which is really the most fun part of this, which I enjoy the most. And I'll come back. So here we are. I've placed all the pieces of green striped leaf pattern. I've chosen the fabrics based on what Wattle and Loop did. One of them is a little bit different. So I've already cut one out, and I'll cut this one out, which is the red felt. Take the fabric, put it in a pile, come back, and I'll show you how to place them. So here we are placing the scraps of fabric onto the green base fabric. I'm initially pinning them down, but eventually you will use some glue to place them down so they don't move. And as you could see, how pretty this is becoming, you know, all the different colors. It's adding an extra colors and gives that plain felt some color and makes it more interesting. So you could see how it looks once I've placed the fabric down. And now look at the two. Separate, the two base parts of the base layers are going to eventually be placed on top of one another. As you can see how beautiful that is. Just by just looking at it, getting some perspective. Then we're going to we're going to move on to this step 3, layering and gluing. And what we're doing is taking the remaining scraps and lace and crinkled velvet to cut, rip, tear, fray, extra pieces to layer the top of our base, to give it base layers, to give us texture, detail, and color variation. So you could see we're starting with the red and the different colors, the veins to make them look like actual petals or leaves. And so here I am cutting a piece of a fabric and I'm placing it down, and I'm using my fabric glue to just a drop or two to keep it from falling off until we sew them down. Don't put too much on or it gets too thick. So I've placed these down as best as I can. I can always switch it around, but I think that will be fine. And so I'm going, just to let you know something that's important, we're going to start on the red felt, and as per the instruction book, the guide, that the back of the, it doesn't matter what the back looks like because we're going to be placing it on top. Now the place that you will be a problem will be on the back of the green, but we're not going to worry about that. So what I'm doing now is I've decided I'm going to start with the center and work my way out, which I don't always do it that way. Sometimes I start from you do the center at the end. So what I did, and this again is we have threads, and you have the yellows, you have the deeper yellow, the darker yellow, and then you have the lighter. And then I was looking, where does this gold metallic go? Where would you place that on the poinsettia? And there's not a lot of places, so I think as of right now it's going to be in the buds in the center of our poinsettia. So what I did was I took some darker yellow and added one metallic thread. See how it goes? And what we're doing here is we're directly at the center, and we're going to make a few French knots. And I have an actual video on how to make French knots. So it's a 1-minute video, quick and easy. So what you're doing is you're pulling up, and again, don't worry what the back looks like because that's not going to be seen. So I take the needle and I thread it 3 times. I wrap the strand around 3 times, and then I go through just about where I came in. I go in, I go back inside, and I have my French knot. So I'll be doing that on the yellows. The greens, I'll come back. I'll work the greens as well. Maybe I'll have 2 threads going at the same time. So now we have this pretty green, which we'll be using some of that. Let me do that one more time. So I'm going to come up through the back. You pull, and be careful with the metallic. And I think sometimes doubling, interweaving it with the other threads makes it easier to work with anyway. So I've wrapped it 3 times, and I pull through right about where I came up, just next to it. Here we are. The time has arrived. We get to actually stitch our artwork down. It's beautiful by itself. So we're working just on the red for right now, and then we'll do the green. You have different color threads for the red. You have the brighter red, the darker red, and this kind of brown black, and some metallic red. So what I'm working on here is I'm going from, sometimes I'll do the lower leaves and the upper leaves. We're working on this leaf here. And as you can see, there's some lace on it, so I have to make sure that gets sewn down. And I'll do in this little piece here, and I'll do some decorative things here. And what eventually is going to happen is that this is going to have to be sewn down onto the green. So there's areas that we'll do a running stitch. But you can see here, I've done a running stitch using the metallic thread. It doesn't have to be metallic, you can use any color. It's not about the thread being really seen as much as, because it's already a work of art in itself. The important part is keeping our layers from falling apart. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this is my lace, and I think I'm going to go with just the basic, the deep red. I will probably use a straight stitch. And you can do anything you want. This part is complete, you're free to do you can express your creativity in any which way. And that's what's important, is that you enjoy it, that you find this fun. And when you're sewing down the layers initially, you'll find that some of them come up because maybe the glue hasn't really stuck well. But as you start to sew them down, you begin to, it's easier to work with. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to just go from underneath. This is a straight stitch. So what I'm doing is I'm putting some straight stitches in here. So it's just simply up and down and go through the other end. So they don't have to be any size in particular, because they're just really, the purpose of these stitches are to keep the lace from falling off. And you don't even see them. And so you're coming up and you're going down, and you're also at the same time sewing this leaf onto that leaf. So you can see what's happening here. And very simple. That's what I like about it, is when you're working on embroidery, when you do embroidery projects, there's more of a precision. And in my sweet pea, when I worked on my sweet pea project, and I was working on that vase, the cut glass vase, that was difficult, because you really had to make sure the stitches were somewhat precise, even to some degree. It wasn't actually had to be perfect there either. But with the slow stitching, you're just stitching. You can do this watching television. You can do this having a conversation with someone. This is the part that I tend to sew on my desk because the lighting is much better. But I also sometimes will put it on my lap and do it while we're watching a movie. So this part is much easier to do this with. And you can see it's starting to come together. And you don't even see the stitches, but it's already starting, it's being sewn down to this, and then this is safe. And as you can see, on these little buds, I have the center. I used metallic for the veins, and then just red to make to finish off, and to do the veins. They're veins as well, just the outside. And so they look more like a leaf. As I go through this, you'll see that once it's done, we're going to place it on top. We're going to place it on top of the red felt that will be finished. And I'm going to show you how to do that next. So this is the base of the green leaf base, and sewing that is going to be different from the red base. You're going to just the only difference is you're going to take the knot from the top rather than the back. So you come through the bottom, the top through the bottom, find a place where the red is going to cover it so that you don't have all this messiness in the back. So I am finished. Mine, I've decided I'm going to frame it. So I'm placing it in a frame. This is the cardboard that's part of the frame. And I will be gluing it down with my PVA. There it is. All complete. What a journey. A long journey, but so worth it. So I will be hanging it up in my hallway for Christmas. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please subscribe, thumbs up. Until we meet again, happy stitching.